Today we're going to visit Susan Brauer. Hi Susan, how are you?
Hi Mary Kay, how are you doing?
Good. Can we come in and talk a little bit?
Absolutely, come on in my studio here.
And you want to tell us exactly what it is you do? I believe it's warm fused glass?
Yes, I make different glass objects, right? But I make it with what's called fused warm glass, which means I use a kiln.
Okay.
Which is like a big oven. And yeah, it's right over here. You can take a look at it. This is one that I have. Okay. I have a second one that I have gotten that I'm going to be able to be using soon too. But this is where I get to put pieces of glass on different molds, and I get to shape the glass with the heat, depending on what temperatures I have. Depends on whether or not I get something that's fully fused, that doesn't really have a lot of bumps on it and interesting little intricate things like over here, let me show you, like this. Or if I totally fuse the glass and then put it over a mold, I get something that's like this, depending on what the heat is inside the furnace. The reason why I do fused glass and use a kiln, prefer it instead of hot glass, which is putting pieces of glass and balls of glass into a furnace and blowing into them and making like bubble type objects. Some vases are made that way, is because I think I get a much more varied piece in look and feel. This is some of my recent work that I've been doing. I started with smaller work, things like this, which is a votive, and also do a thing that is called weaving glass. And then as time went on, I got more molds. Oh, I need to tell you, I get my molds from Goodwill, because I can use, doing this, I can use any stainless steel object that I would like for a mold. So I can get some very, very different shaped objects. And I love doing things like that. My whole purpose is to make things that are beautiful. That's all I want to do. That's my whole purpose in the art that I do. And I'll give you a little bit background. I have always loved glass. Since I was a little child, I grew up in Chicago. And Chicago has these places that you drink in the park, right? And when the water comes up to drink in the fountain, it comes up like globules. And ever since I started getting drinks at the park, I used to think how neat it would be if I could grab a globule in my hand, right? And so I've always had a love for anything like that, right? Any kind of glass balls or lumps. And my whole life, my dad used to say, oh, my great-grandfather came from Germany and they had some kind of glass factory there. And I always thought, yeah, right, you know, he's kind of full of it. And then after he passed away, and that, my sister actually has a son-in-law who comes from Europe, and he said, you know, I can look up online to see if there is a Putzler, or was a Putzler glass factory. And sure enough, there's the Six Brothers Putzler Glass Factory that did exist. I even have a piece of glass from it. My great-great-grandfather did come over, and when they looked his records up on the boat, he said he was a glassmaker. And I thought, oh, this was like 10 years ago. And I thought, right around the time I retired, and I said, oh my God, it must be genetic, you know, just to love to touch it and look at it and feel it and make it look different. And for me, that's my whole point. It's got to be beautiful and it's got to be really different. So that when people look at it, they think, oh, how did you do that? So
well, I would say that's a pretty good example of being different.
Yes, it is. It's very lightweight. It's made of little strips of glass. I then tack fused it so they'd all stick together in a big flat circle. And then I took one of my molds that I got from Goodwill and put a special, it's called boron nitrate coating. And I place it on top like a dinner plate. and I put it in my oven and I cook it. It takes about 8.5 hours.
Huh.
And out comes that beautiful different bowl of little tiny pieces, thin pieces of glass.
Oh my gosh, how incredible.
Right now I'm gearing up to actually be at the fair.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's in September.
Right.
And I've always had a tent there for many years, maybe 8, 9, except for during the pandemic. And I enjoy that very much because it's all of the artists from Tallgrass. It's juried in order for you to get in. And I love participating in that a lot.
That's
I
great.
love participating with Tallgrass. It's a great, wonderful gallery. Very artistically, I think it's very classy. A lot of great stuff, great artists, interesting different things. And I do spend time on, they have like an artist's board, and we decide what the new shows will be that come in and things like that. Some of my happiest times actually when I volunteer is volunteering for Tallgrass, doing that, because it's nice to be with people who are, my background is electrical engineering, so that's very, very different.
Yeah.
In a lot of respects it's mainly male, so it's very different to be with artists, both male and female, who feel about things the way I do, about the beauty and the things I'm trying to produce. Nothing against engineering, we were very creative, but it's a little bit different, right? And this I can be free. And you know, that's one thing that people are really surprised about my work. It is not perfect, it is not straight lined, it is not like what you would think a person with an engineering background would be. I like the glass to flow. However it comes out, it comes out. And one of the things that I really love, this is something recent that I've been doing and having fun with, is this takes several firings, all right? This takes the inner glass first to be fired on my vase, which is right over there, my vase mold, which is very sleek and has a lot of drop. And I put a plain plate of glass on that. And it doesn't come all the way to the bottom of the shelf. It maybe comes about this far. And then I take a circle of glass that I've made that also has all these lovely little glass, what I call whatnots, all over them. And I tack fuse that, it's a flat circle. And then I take that flat circle and I put it over the wider bowl mold. So now what I turn around and I do is I redo and cook both of them, one on top of another. And when I do that, I wind up with different folds, different patterns, completely. And the weight of this one, this glass disc, as it comes down on the mold, pushes this glass vase and squishes it and makes these ripples. So even though it takes lots of firing, it's very intricate what comes out.
Now this glass here, so you made that also?
Yes, everything.
So
I make everything. All I have are sheets of glass like this. Here's a clear sheet. Well, no, I'll get a prettier one here. All I have are sheets of glass like this that come. And if I want, I love this color. Look at it. It's called Blue Sky, and it's a wispy. It has a little light in there. And I make little pieces, what I call whatnots. Here, either beads, or if you look around here, this is a little square. And I put them in at various temperatures to make different patterns. And you know, some are circles, some are beads. And then I put them on another piece of glass. That's this one that I've already cut myself into a circle. And I then put them back into the oven to stick them on, right? And then I do the molding, depending, putting different pieces that I've already combined together on different molds and then putting those finished pieces on top of each other.
So
And the film.
basically, even if it's a similar type vase, like a few of those are, it's still one of
Yes.
a kind when you're done with it?
Oh, I never do a second type at all, ever.
Okay.
I never repeat. It's something that I just don't like to do. I may repeat, like right here, this is my popping white phase. I haven't all of a sudden really like popping white. This was a bowl that I had done with someone else that I really didn't like. And I did it on two different bowl molds and I just didn't like it. So what I did is I then took a sheet of white and I took the bowl and I put it on this mold. And that's how it came out. Right?
Interesting.
And then I decided I kind of liked that. So I went ahead and took other pieces of glass that I had gotten from this one shop called Mike Hoy's, who has great glass. And I decided to try it where I would show more of one of the glass color, a little less of the white, and then I decided to show a lot of the white, right? And then I do that till I kind of peter out.
So
and
they're
then I
kind of
start
similar in the initial style, but then you change each one.
Over and over, yeah. Different colors, different styles. I never make them exactly the same, ever. When I initially started, like I said, I started with votives like this. And I have, quote, sold many of them. However, I just can't, I don't do 20 of them and 30 of them. And
Right.
it's just something I just don't do. And I'm votived out right now. That's why I changed them around. I have one over here that I actually weave the glass with. Right. That's glass weaving. Let me tell you a little bit about glass weaving. I hope I'm not getting too over everything.
No, not at all.
Okay, so here I'll show you. This is how I glass weave. I literally cut strips of glass, right? And then I take and I weave them. And now I can make some this size, or I can make them smaller, so that they're very much more woven together more closely, one way or another. But I save these so that I can take a look at what I've done, right? Do this kind of thing. And then in between them, turn this one this way. I don't know if you can see it, but you can start seeing little tunnels that go through. And then I take pieces of glass, somewhat that I either cut, but I'll show you for demonstration what I have here. Don't do this with your teeth. Right here. Take a piece of glass like this, but it's one that I've cut that's a little thicker, and then I put this glass through. And I do that all the way for a large piece, place it on a piece of glass, tack fuse it. Tack fusing means that everything will retain its shape, but it will stick on that glass that I put it on permanently.
Okay.
And then I'm not melting it all the way down. I'm making sure that all of this wave stays intact. And then I take it and I put it over a mold. And that's what tack fusing. This was actually 1/2 of a pickle tray that dripped. When you make mistakes, sometimes the most interesting things happen. This dripped down the side because it was kind of too hot and I had too much glass hanging over and it dripped down. And it looked so neat and so interesting that I only used 1/2 of this pickle tray. There were 2 dishes in it. 1 dish side, and then I put it over a very small mold, a votive mold that I found at Goodwill that was a gravy boat. And I think it's one of my most interesting votives.
When you started with glass making,
Yes.
okay, so obviously it's in your family, but how did you learn to do this to begin with?
I bought a book.
book. Okay.
And I have several books here that I actually used, and I started to read on it. And then at my junior college, I took a class. There was a lady who does glass working towards Manuka, and over at Joliet Junior College. And there also was a small glass shop on 30 that was almost over to 55, where 80 and 55 meet. And they are now closed. But it was a little man glassmaker and his wife, and they had 2 classes there. And with those 3 classes and the books on glassmaking that I had, I started from scratch. I mean, nobody in my family did glass. My sister did all of these type of statues and things out of clay. And she then, when I started doing glass, we were kind of doing it together long distance because she lives in Pennsylvania. Oh, and just a sidebar, I have two kilns. This one is a smaller kiln that I first bought. This I can make jewelry in.
Oh.
And I make pendants and earrings, and if you're looking for very even earrings and very nice round pendants, you don't get my stuff. My stuff is however it flows, okay? So this I make jewelry in, and that I make all my vases. But this I realized as it was getting bigger and bigger, that doing bigger and bigger things, that I wanted to do really large things. So my sister, who is moving, like I said, has a huge kiln, one that is 4 feet by 4 feet by 4 feet, that stands about 6 on a stand. We're going to take it and put it right here, and I'm going to be able to make glass work that is like 3 by 3 sheets that people could hang in their windows, or big, huge, round pieces.
That sounds exciting.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
And it opens up a new area for you.
Completely. I mean, I am right now, these are the largest that I can make in that kiln. This is a large bowl that I found from a mixing bowl for dough or something. I don't know what it was for, but I found that also in Goodwill. And that makes it a very interesting bowl, and you can see a lot. I like when you can see the side. If it's like this, you can't really see as much how beautiful things are. So I like to make it higher. And those are the highest that I can make in this kiln. That's it. I've reached my maximum. And that is the largest disc I can make in this kiln.
Not for long.
No, I'm going to be able to make very large pieces of glass. So my purpose is not so much making a lot of glass to sell a lot of pieces.
Right.
I'm not even there. My purpose is to make glass do things that I can't see anybody else doing. And that's what I want to do for the next 30 years till I drop dead. So I'm really excited about this. And she's ready to move on to smaller things because my sister made much larger works than that I have in the house. Some of them are 2/3 women's sizes. But now that she's older, 83, she wants to make more of figures that are shorter and smaller. So for her, a kiln this size will be just fine in the future. But that's my advantage because I get this big, huge kiln that she's had for about 20 years. And so this is it. I love this place. When we bought this house, I retired 11 years ago and thought I want to go into glass. I said I want to have a studio, but I wanted, if we could buy one that has this big old garage or something.
Right.
And here we wound up, when we walked in this place, there were spider webs everywhere. There was no walls or anything. It was all just boards and plasterboard. It wasn't even finished plasterboard. It was the outside, the external. This was a broken door here that they had to pull up and down, aluminum. And I saved the jealousy windows because I love them. And what happened is my husband and I, little by little, we turned it into this wonderful, wonderful studio. I love it. And what's unbelievable is this is a cement floor, so no matter how hot I make glass or what I do, I don't have a problem with worrying about anything like that. And also I can smash all my glass when I really don't like something. I get a hammer, a big huge hammer, and I smash it all up and collect the pieces. But you don't have to worry, because to me I keep it fairly clean, but it feels so good to sit in here. It's so peaceful. And one more interesting thing, by coincidence, the woman that lived in this house all the way into her 90s was a glassmaker too. She did leaded glass.
Oh.
And she could see where she did leaded glass and sprayed it on my basement floor, because she kept it in the basement. This must have been her husband's place. And by coincidence, he welded, so I have 220 lines so I can put my kilns in. And it just all worked like it was meant to be, right?
Well, that's so neat. Well, thank you for allowing us into your shop and telling us a little bit about it. We certainly look forward to seeing you at the art fair.
Oh, yes, and thank you very much for coming.
You are
really,
so
really pleased.
welcome.
This way I can tell some people about my insanity here that I love so much.
Thank you.
you.
We're here today with tallgrass artist Susan Brauer. This is a little different video than you're accustomed to seeing, but that's because Susan has such a very interesting, wide background of things that she has done or planning to do. So we just want to take a few minutes to talk about with Susan some of the things that she's been involved in. And the most interesting thing to me, Susan, is how did you get involved in electrical engineering?
And I will tell you, I will start with the background of myself. I never did artwork before. And I married at 18, 6 days after my 18th birthday, and 8 days after I graduated high school. I married my childhood sweetheart. And it turned out that my childhood sweetheart had huge problems. So when Vietnam happened and when he went into the service, we found out what those problems were, which was violence with drinking. And I'm not going to go too much into that. For those of you who really want to know what on those years, I have a book called Just Keep Dancing, and it's on Amazon. You can buy it still today. And through a lot of very good luck, I found people that could help me figure out how to overcome domestic violence and abuse. And I guess you could say through the grace of God, or the universe, which is more of my liking, I did that, and I was successful. Now, I married my second husband. That's who I married to. It'll be 49 years. His wife died of cancer at 24. He had 2 babies, 3 and 5. I had 3 children, 5, 4, and 6 months old. So they were all boys, and the day we got married, it was 5, 5, 4, 3, and 6 months old. Nobody could wipe themselves when they went to the bathroom, and nobody could cut their meat. It was very interesting. And we immediately there were no definitions about jobs and things like that. We did whatever we needed to survive. He was a journeyman mechanic, and several years went by, and I eventually said to him, listen, I would really like to go back to school to learn how to type. Because when I had gone to high school, I had done well on the tests, and I was supposed to be pre-college. And in the 60s, those people at an all-girls school who were pre-college didn't get to do things like homemaking or typing or any of that. They had me take Latin and several languages, which helped me a lot, as you can see. And so anyhow...
Do you speak Latin to your classwork when you're working with them?
No. But it gave me a great vocabulary, let me tell you. But anyhow, so what happened is, I said I want to go to school and learn to type. He said, that's a great idea in case something happened to him, 6 kids. By this time we had a 6th child, and he was a boy too, so I had 6 kids. And so he said, yeah, this would be great. Well, let's do that. And so after I successfully learned how to type and got an A, which I thought was incredible because I was 33, I was surprised I could learn it all, right? I thought, well, since I was a math major, I'll just take, this sounds crazy, calculus for fun, because I didn't need to work right away. So I was never allowed to take calculus in high school, right, at that time. And so anyhow, I took the test at Moraine Valley Community College, and I did really well. And I had a wonderful person who I talked to, an advisor, and she said to me, "You see this how well you did. Well, I can tell you that men that come through here don't really do that well, and women that come through here get like a third of what you got in math on my math test." And so she said, I said, "Well, what do you think? What do you think about that? Can I take calc?" And she said, "Better than that, I think you should seriously think about what the guys with those scores do." And I said, "What?" "You should be an engineer." And I thought, ding ding on a train. I said, "What are you talking about?" I really did. And she said, no, I'm talking about like an electrical engineer or a mechanical engineer. And I said, "Wow, I bet you that takes a long time, right? I got 6 kids. I'm 33. She said, "Yeah, it actually takes full time, maybe about 5 years. But she said, I'll tell you what, take one course at a time as your kids grow. And every course you take gets you a better job with more money. And if you take chemistry, maybe you work at Baxter, right?" And she said, "And time will tell to see how long it takes you to get through. You'll still have those classes." So I did that. It took me 5 years. I was 37, 38 when I got my associate's degree from Moraine in science. And then I went to UIC and I took engineering courses. It took me 2.5 years and I graduated, and I got my bachelor in science from UIC when I was 40, and I got my master's degree when I was 43 in electrical engineering. My deal was electromagnetics, waves in the air, and what happened when I graduated was the first cell phone came out. So I had a job. First I worked at Oregon National Labs. I worked there 6 years. I got to help make the advanced photon source, which is a big X-ray machine, because I did electromagnetics and wave propagation. And they helped me with research and my job. I worked like 60 hours a week, and I did my master's at the same time. And then I got tired, finally, of that, and I went to Motorola, where money was better, and it was better for the whole family. And I was in design and development there for 13 years. And then after that, I thought I'd give back some, and I decided to go into education for my last 5 years, from 58 like to 63. When I was 63, at DeVry University downtown, the big one. Mm-hmm. And I came in as the Dean of Electrical Engineering Technology, and I wound up as the full academic dean of the whole campus. And I had almost 6 years there. And then when I retired on Groundhog Day 12 years ago. And that's when I said, well, what am I going to do now? Well, I love glass. What can I do? Never doing any of this before, never doing any art, and always thinking I was very practical. And it was wonderful. And then, along with this, mm-hmm. before I had retired, while I was an engineer, I had thought to myself, everybody knows me as the successful engineer or teacher, not teacher, but academic person at DeVry and that. They don't really know about those years that were so tough mm-hmm. for my family and for all of us, while my active alcoholic as a husband and then as a divorced person that you have to work with, and my present husband had to.
Right.
Everything that we went through as a family, all of us. The 6 of us plus the boys, everybody. And so it took me 5 years while I was working at Motorola and finishing up at DeVry to write my book, Just Keep Dancing, which is as honest as it can be, so that anybody that is in a situation like that can understand that there's hope and there's a future. because things worked out so well for me.
Hmm.
And my husband, because he educated the slave, which was me, the woman, and paid for it and hung in with me all of the hours and everything I did. He got the prize because he got to retire at 57.
Oh,
And I
that's
got to
pretty
turn
awesome.
the page. Oh, it was wonderful. And he got to be with every grandchild, go to school with them. All of the time that he sacrificed with the children, he got big time payback.
That's really a blessing.
It was all wonderful. My life has been, sometimes, when life is tough, you do get the opportunity to see life in its real beauty. Without the pain, sometimes I don't think you can understand or break through
Mm-hmm.
what everybody around wants you to be. But when things are really tough and you gotta change and you gotta look at things differently, it is a blessing because all of this comes out of it. Out of my children, 5 of them are electrical engineers. One of them is a master mechanic after his father. And so I have 17 grandchildren. Out of that 17, 14 of them are boys, 3 of them are girls. We had a lot of boys. And so life is good. And I also now have time not only for my glass, but I do write still.
What kind of things do you write about now?
I'm actually working on a ghost story to make it as ghosty, scary as I can without being bloody and awful. I'm not like that. I like Alfred Hitchcock's stuff.
Yeah, fiction story, right?
Yes. And I had done some blogging for a while too. And I'm on the board of the Illinois Women's Press Association, which was founded in Chicago in 1885. And so I'm the treasurer. And then I also get the privilege to teach senior citizens at Moraine Valley Community College Extension. And my husband and I, our favorite course that we teach is all about the Hubble telescope, so that you'd be surprised how many seniors do not know at all about the stars and what goes on out there and the wonderful, exciting breakthroughs that are happening in where we are, who we are, and what the universe is about. So that's what the class is that we bring to seniors. We teach it in the fall and in the spring for 8 weeks each time. And I'm on the board there. And life is good. You can do a lot of things. You just got to be open. And sometimes you need to shake it up and be open.
Well, that's truly incredible. Thank you for sharing that with us. I know we're a little off the beaten art path, but anything new or exciting coming up with your art? Are you making any changes or?
Yes, I'm going to go with the biggest pieces that I can because I am being lucky that my sister, who is the artist, is gearing down a little bit on the size of the work she does in clay, and I'm going to get this huge kiln from her where I can double and triple the sizes of the things that I do right now, which to me is very, very, very exciting.
So a new book on the horizon and a new bigger art? That sounds pretty exciting.
It is, it's wonderful. At least the next 30 years should be really kick-ass. That's all I gotta say.
Well, thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you very much
Bye-bye.
for coming out. Bye.